Hey, good Lord, YouTube. What is up? How are y'all doing? I'm trying to monitor my stream health here on my handphone or cell phone if you're a native English speaker. Okay. Hey, good Lord, YouTube. It's your boy Mike here. This is my channel, Solid State Alchemy. I am in my basement. I'm in the underbelly of the YouTube algorithm. Probably had too many tasty libations to be doing this stream, but here we are. So one stream back, you saw me fail at figuring out what was wrong with a Dell XPS 435/9000. Well, I figured out what was wrong with that computer. It had a bad motherboard. I've got a new motherboard. It's behind the camera over there, and it's awaiting testing with the full suite of quasi upgrades that we're going to do to get that old warhorse back on the trail. But before we send that stallion back out into the wild to fight another day, could use with a bit of a come up. So we are going to clean and polish the front and side panels of the case, because it's glossy black plastic, and yeah, it just shows every scratch, mark, if you look at it sideways, it gets a pretty bad residue left behind. So this is what we're going to do. First, we're going to clean it, and that's going to be, there we go, product placement right up front. Simple green. Now this is not just straight simple green. This is actually 50-50 simple green and distilled water, because it makes your simple green go a lot longer, and it's just as effective. I don't know if Simple Green necessarily wants you to know that, but it's true. 50-50 distilled water, and you will get just as much cleaning power out of, yeah, this says it makes 10 32-ounce bottles of general purpose cleaner. So I'm shorting myself. I could probably make it 1 in 10, or at least 5 in 10. I don't even know if that makes sense. I could probably cut this 5 times instead of 1 time. So we're going to clean this with the simple green and a paper towel. And then we're going to clean this with alcohol. This is 99.9% isopropyl alcohol, medical grade, from Bell Chemical. Purchased on Amazon. So that should get like 99.9% of the oils and residue of over 10 years of, living as a system, living in someone's home, off of these black plastic panels. And then and only then are we going to go at it with the Kimo cordless battery powered 3-inch polisher. So this is a very recent purchase for me. I got this on Walmart.com. It consists of the polisher head and body, the charging stand, which is pretty, self-explanatory, 1 battery, and you got the pad pedestal here that you attach your pads to, and the kit comes with, see if I can get them all out of here. So I think I have these in the right order. So we've got a terry cloth pad, right? Let me start. So we've got the textured foam pad, and this is probably what I will start with today. I'm fairly sure they don't really tell you what the pads are designed to do, so I'm going by feel and experience here. So we've got a textured pad. This is usually some sort of mild cutting pad. And then we've got a flat, untextured pad, right? And this is a bit more of a polishing pad, although these could both be like very mild cutting pads. It's tough to know. They don't really say. Usually green is like some sort of, you know, very mild cutting pad. You've got a terry cloth pad here. This can also be used with a cutting compound. And then you've got what I know for sure is a polishing pad. You've got your like a lamb's wool, very, very soft. Or this is like microfiber. Yeah, this is like super high end, you know, super glossy, fragile finish polishing pad. We're probably not going to use that today, actually, for this application, really, because this is not going to be, or it shouldn't be. Let me just go with that. It shouldn't be. Desktop fronts and sides shouldn't be in like super ultra high traffic areas as a general rule. But the tops do lend themselves to having things laid upon top of them. So the main goal here today is to just get some of the bigger, deeper scratches out. Now, on the previous stream, I peeled, so this computer still had like a lot of the, and I still have it on this one right here, the protective film from like 2009 on it. So that was interesting. But also what had happened was, I don't know if I can get the angle right on here, but there was a crease. There's a crease across this whole portion right here where this protective film had like bunched or creased or something had happened to it, and it's made a permanent line across this glossy black panel from this. And you can see here, like, there's bubbles here in this, and there's bubbles here in this protective film, and I'm gonna guarantee there's probably some kind of like mark here, some kind of noticeable residue on the panel. So we're going to try to get rid of that, in addition to getting rid of like the deep scratches from use, from having things laid on it. Like so this, the Dell XPS series, one of their, you know, when they were a new and original computer design, this was kind of a novel thing. Not a lot of computers had this like accessory tray. You could put, you know, at the time they didn't have gigantic ass cell phones. You know, a first generation iPhone would fit in this little pocket here, this little tray, and it has these USB outlets here that you could sit your phone down in here, and you could run a small, short little USB charger cord into your phone, and it would charge, sync, whatever you wanted to do with the data on your phone and your computer. Okay, so enough jibber-jabbering around about what I'm going to get after, and let's start getting after it. So the first thing to do is, let's just isolate. Fine, it's fine. Isolate one panel here. I did briefly consider just disassembling this entire panel, but it is just such a pain in the butt to get this door assembly and all of this off of the back here, and then have it like all line up with these this rolling block assembly here that, you know, that does this door. So I think I'm just going to try to like roll with it, keep it all together, and then polish it as it stands as one kind of like monolithic unit here. But first we need to get it clean. So let's get a couple of paper towels here. Let's spray this down with my probably not diluted enough simple grain. wipe this down. So this is pretty easy so far. Everybody should be, you know, this should not be beyond the skill level of any viewer at this point. So we're just trying to get down to ground truth, as it were, and get any dirt, debris, residue off of the surface. Man, there is definitely some discoloration here. And I don't know if it's because of some kind of oil or what. Hopefully we can sort this out. So interesting about this, this black plastic is actually like almost a, it's almost like a smoked clear plastic in some aspects. There is a Dell logo here that is backlit, and it will shine through. So this is not like perfectly, you know, what's what I'm looking for? Not the opposite of transparent. Opaque. This is not completely opaque. This does have some transparency in it. Okay, so we got that. So that's phase one is dirt and grime. Let me just go in here and get some of these, get some of the cricks and crevices out here. Get my thumbnail down in there, because we don't want any dirt jumping up into our pad and causing swirl marks. And we also don't want any of my cat's hairs jumping up into the pad and causing swirl marks. So there's that. Alright, looks like it should be pretty good. Yes, yeah, so these CD drive covers they do not have the plastic saran wrap stuff on them, and they are pretty scratched. Man, there's definitely some kind of type of residue here. I don't know what that is. That is like pretty entrenched. Let me see if I can go over that one more time with the simple green. Just give it with some like a little bit of Elmo grease, and then we're gonna hit it with the 100% isopropyl alcohol. See if we can get a little bit more residue. Some kind of like sticky residue that's leaving. I don't know if that's going to show up on camera. I'll just kind of try to slowly rotate that back and forth. Sticky residue all down this side of this panel. So let's try some rubbing alcohol on that. Some isopropyl alcohol. It's not rubbing alcohol. Yeah, it's like on the side. It's on the painted side of this case panel also. There's something got either dripped or spilled or something. That's actually not 100% out of the equation, because there definitely was like some kind of weird residue on the back of the motherboard that I think is what caused it to cease operations. Okay, so the alcohol definitely went right after that, whatever that was, and just peeled that right off of there. That was interesting. I could feel it, just strip it right off. That's crazy. This 100% isopropyl is, or 99.9% isopropyl is, it's legit. It will get after it. And you don't need very much. You just have to, I just have a little, like smaller than a dime-sized hole in the foil opening there, and it definitely gets after grease and grime. Very impressive. Okay. Definitely want to make sure this is as clean as we can get it before we start polishing it. So I am not going to go through some kind of, you know, wild and crazy 14-step, 7-pad polishing process. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? What I am here to do is to make this look better than it does right now. Okay? That is it. And honestly, it's already, even just with the alcohol, this is already looking better than it did. That's surprising. The alcohol definitely cleared up a lot of the stains from the peel and from whatever had been spilled under the peel, so that's good. But I can see, you know, in the light, I can see a lot of swirl marks. There's still some, whatever this residue is, it's still down here on this bottom corner. So this is what it takes, you know, to get a, in my mind, if I'm going to sell this computer as refurbished, this is what refurbished means, right? Like, I've gone over every inch of this entire chassis, motherboard, all the components, and made it, you know, function as new or better than new. That's upgraded, obviously. That's, but yeah. You can't just, you know, half-ass this, but I know, because I've purchased things from sellers on eBay who sell their wares as quote-unquote refurbished, and what you get is somebody who definitely didn't put nearly as much time as I'm putting in just right now. We haven't even started polishing, right? Okay, so that's pretty clean, and that did clear up a lot of the distortions. That isopropyl definitely has gotten us down to like the actual, you know, meat of the matter here. So I'm going to take the battery here, and it's going to click in there. All right, and I got a blue light, and then we're going to screw in the pad mount. Okay. And I'm just going to go with this foam cutting surface here. And I'm going to use Meguiar's Professional Fine Cut Cleaner. This says it's a mirror glaze number 2. So this is a cleaner / glaze, right? So this is kind of like, I don't know, you can think of it as the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds, as far as what it's capable of doing. Best of both worlds meaning, like, you know, it's not a straight cutting compound. It is, it's dried up is what it is. It's dried up on the it's not a straight cutting compound. It's just somewhere in between a cutting compound and a polish. But I hope is not a planning factor. I hope for our purposes here, my purposes, that this is going to be kind of like a decent middle ground solution where I don't have to just work 7 different pads 15 different ways with a bunch of different compounds to achieve, you know, I'm not even, I don't need perfection. I need like better than what we started with is what I need. I need better than what I started with. And I think this is going to get me there. So I'm just going to put a little bit of product in like the divots here of this compound. That should be enough. Let me just put just a teeny bit more on that one there. All right. So I'm gonna just kind of press this in here. Kind of rub it around a little bit first, just to get it kind of impregnated into the wheel and into kind of on the surface here. Just work it around, and then how you use this here fancy thing. Okay, let's consult the Book of Armaments here. So I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I knew what I was doing, but evidently I don't. Just get another swig of this. I inserted the battery. Yep. And to turn the tool on, long press. Okay. Long press. It's a little noisy. So I'm going to go with, nope, I'm going to go with the yellow. So red is ultra slow, and then there's yellow, and then, I don't know if you can see that, I'm going to, feel that slinging the material off of the pad. So we're going to go, yeah, green. Not a lot of pressure here. Just letting this do its own thing. Microfiber here. Got some, yeah, there's a little bit of debris buildup from this lip right here. So there's a lip on this panel that slides down that meant that the pad didn't get like as deep of a bite into that panel as possible. So it definitely made this big flat panel at the bottom look way smoother and shinier. But the farther I progress up the tower fascia here, we definitely didn't get as much product or as much media removal. And again, this is not a cutting compound, right? So I'm not looking to cut, but I am looking to kind of like restore some of the glossiness, which I feel like it did. But we're going to give it another go here. And I'm going to switch pads to the flat pad and see how that does. See how this works. Yep. It's still very flung a lot of it off. Let's see if I can get this to go here. So the head of this polisher, the head is very heavy, and so this polishing pad has a lot more bite, and you definitely have to have your I need this piece like in a more secure kind of a hold, more than likely. It's working okay. But this is definitely biting a lot more than it was previously. So I'm definitely getting some deeper polishing action on these panels, which is good. That's what I want. I want it to kind of get down into it. It is like a little bit, this solid surface pad is like a little bit harder to control for sure, and a little bit more grabby. Which means I should have this in like a vise or something, because it's just it's a lot more bite. But I think that did a better job with the solid pad. I just got a lot more surface area on the panel here than previously. So this is definitely not perfect, but that is not what I set out to do for this particular restoration. This is not a restored as new. This isn't a restoration. Let me back up. I'm not restoring this PC. I'm refurbishing it. So taking like a little bit of the material off and getting it just like a little bit more glossy, kind of like, putting it back closer to its former glory days is the name of the game here, right? So that's what the whole point of it is. This is not a restoration. I'm not bringing this back to just absolutely bang on you know, out of the box levels of conditioning. That would require, like I said earlier, multiple pad changes, multiple compound changes. I would start with like a much heavier compound here, and then get after this, I would take this down to like, it would be dull, you know, and then I would come back over it with with several grades of polishing compound, and I'm not after that. What I wanted to do here was to get this to look as if it had been well cared for, you know, and didn't need serious remedial attention, and I think that really did fit the bill. You can definitely tell there's still spiderweb swirls and some scuffs and scratches in the finish, but it's also like everywhere that's not those much deeper scuffs and scratches is glossy and nice. Now, as far as working with the Kimo here, this is literally my first go at it. I mean, I took the battery out of the charger on camera and away we went. I've never used this tool before ever, and it is not let me rephrase that. It is worth what I paid for it, for sure. This is $100 on Walmart.com, and it definitely. Is there anybody chatting me? I don't think there's anybody chatting me. No, nobody chatting me. All right. Can you guys hear me out there? Is there anybody, you know, watching this? I think I get billed as like an extra person watching it because I'm using my phone. Anyway. So, this does exactly what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to be handheld, cordless, small, 3 inches. I looked at the 1-inch ones, and they're so expensive for one. And this would have taken me way longer, and I would have had to do the like 11 bajillion pad changes, which I wasn't interested in at all. So, yeah, this is probably going to work. I will probably go over this one more time with this fine cut on this upper on these upper panels here, but this is definitely looking good, looking way better than the condition in which I got it. And now we're going to move on to this bad boy right here. So this is the top panel of the I'm gonna try this other pad again. So this is the top panel of the XPS 435/9000. So still got 12-year-old peel on it. Here it goes. We're gonna peel it. Twelve-year-old peel. Nice. And that surface does look like pretty doggone good. Now it's got some spots, some deep gouges actually that this is probably not gonna fix. That got through that peel, that protective peel, and put a scratch in there. And then it's also got that kind of like weird wavy deformation from taking the peel off. And then you've got the accessory tray, which is just a hot mess because it didn't have a peel on it. That was taken off, and it's just, you know, it's dirty and grubby. So in order to clean this, what I'm going to do here is, so this accessory tray has USB ports across the back of it, right? So I don't want simple green and isopropyl alcohol in the USB ports, so we're going to get the multi-tool in here, and we're going to take out the PCBs that support the USB ports. Slide those out. may actually take the metal bracket that supports it all also. I realized just now that my microphone's pretty far away from me. Hopefully you guys have been able to hear me pretty well. Okay, so we'll slide the USB PCB out like that. And then we still have this metal bracket in here, which I'm going to also take out. Okay, leave those there. And we've also got a small PCB for the power reset button combo. So we'll take that out also, just to avoid any complications with getting any of this liquid on the PCB components there. Alright, that should be good. Yep, I should put the power button synced down in there low. Okay, so again, we will go over this with some Simple Green first. Just a general mild cleaner, mild soapy cleaner. Get after it with some isopropyl alcohol and then the polisher one more time, and that should leave our 435T, is it 435T/9000 in a pretty good spot cosmetically. It does have a couple of paint issues. I'm not sure if I'm going to repaint the entire chassis or not at this point. It might not. The juice might not be worth the squeeze on that one. We will see. Go over this one more time. Make sure we get any grit and grime off of the edges, because we don't want that jumping up onto our pad while we polish. We get this power button and these holes for the USB ports and audio jacks. Good, go over those really well several times. Okay, now for the alcohol. Speaking of, okay. Now, if you don't have a cordless polisher like the Kimo here, you can use hand polishing pads. I've used them, but you will spend considerably more time polishing the same parts to get the similar effect. It's just, there's no way around it. You know, this thing can do so many RPMs per minute compared to what, you know, you and your hand can get done. It's just nothing for it. They are mechanically superior. Again, going over the outside lip just to make sure there's no grunge or grime. It's going to jump up into our pad. So this looks pretty clean. I'm gonna try this. Now I'm not cleaning my pad, which if I was doing more surface area, I definitely would clean this pad off before going back at it. But this is a 3-inch pad on a 1 foot, maybe 15-inch surface, 15 by 6, and another 12 by 6. So ratio wise, it should be okay. And again, I'm cleaning these pads off pretty good. And this is also not like I said, this is not a super aggressive cutting compound. So it's not loading up with tons of material from cutting off, from cutting actual pieces of plastic from off of the panel here. We're not removing a lot of material from the panel. Boost it up one more speed here. Okay. I feel like that went pretty good. Let's buff it off here. Now, just as I suspected, this did not really affect these very large gashes that got through the protective film, the 12-year-old protective film. There's still just little pieces of 12-year-old protective film hanging on for dear life over here. Come on, get out of there, guy. And the portion that didn't have protective film for the last 12 years definitely needs another going over. So this time we're going to transition to the flat. The flat bit here. Okay. So this is pretty easy. Not pretty. This is a very easy tool to use. It's got a key lock here, so if you have multiple pad armatures that you want, like let's say you're going to use this thing multiple hours a day, and you want to go out and get some of these armatures, these platforms for the pad to attach to via Velcro, because they're nice to have multiples of. It's got a little key lock here. Lock that in so that the chuck, this is a coarse threaded chuck, doesn't spin on you. while you're threading it on. Thread it on, get it good and tight, and then you take the key lock off of there. It's got some, I think this is a body that they use probably for also their ratchet. They're a different head, but they have like a ratchet, a mechanical impact ratchet, or just an impacting ratchet that that's for automotive use. That has basically I don't know if it's 3/8 or 1/2 inch, or if you can get it in either one chuck here, and uses a similar motor to run basically your sockets through. So it's got some rubber pads here. It's rubber pads on the bottom here that make me think that those could be like a reverse or forward and reverse buttons on a different tool. But controls are pretty easy. It's a long press on the power button to get it to start up, and then you get a light, a red light here and a green light here. That means you're ready to go, and you can control your speed, and it starts at low every time. Low, medium, low, medium, high, very high. And bring it all the way back down to low, and then power it off. Which is what I need to do, because I'm going to put some more compound on here. Just a little bit. Okay, gonna rub that in with my finger just a little bit, just to see if I can get a little bit more even distribution of the compound on the pad here. I put a very, very, very small amount of compound because it already had some from the last panel. And like I said, typically I would have already washed these panels out, but I'm doing such a small area, and I'm not using a very aggressive compound, so it's not taking a lot of material off. Oops. Like I said, this solid pad does get a lot more bite. So I probably should have this in some kind of fixture, but I don't. Like I said, this isn't restoration, this is refurbishment. I'm not trying to make this look brand new. I'm trying to make it look like it hadn't been rode hard and put up wet. Which I think we've done a fairly good job at. This definitely looks better than it did. It's glossier. Doesn't have 12-year-old shrink wrap on it. It's still got some spider webs. It's still got some swirls. It's still got some scratches, and that's okay. But it's better than what we started with by leaps and bounds, honestly. Like I can definitely tell that this is glossier, more reflective. Doesn't have weird, as far as this other panel goes, doesn't have really strange, oily, madness going on. Like I said, I probably am going to go over this. I'm probably going to wash these pads out and go over this panel one more time as I scratch all of them up. Oh my god. It's like Linus Tech Tips dropping a GPU. I think I do want to remove a little bit more material on these panels here for sure. And I might explore removing them individually and running them. Like, I could put this in a vise and almost make a buffing wheel out of it. So that might work. Versatile tool, I didn't even think of that. Like, you definitely, if you needed a buffing wheel, you could find an armature that fits on this, put this in a vise, and you know, Bob's your uncle, you got a buffing wheel. For sure, as long as you can find something that fits that coarse threaded hub coming out of here. So, Kimo handheld cordless electric 12-volt polisher did what I wanted to do. The next project for this tool is going to be an even older Alienware system, and I'm going to move on from the Kimo supplied pads to a more labeled and regimented system of pads, specifically for cutting, because that is going to be a case restoration as opposed to a case refurbishment. So what comes out of the box in this Kimo pack right here could conceivably get you one restoration, maybe, I don't know, depending on how bad your starting point is. I don't think these pads are tough enough for really heavy cutting. You probably want an orange or a red pad, or whatever color is in your pad system. I know the pads that I've used in the past, red and orange were like really getting after it. Blue and green and white were for polishing. So, yeah, I guess that's about it. I'm going to try to get these panels back on this Dell XPS Studio, and then get the goodies into it and see, you know, what it games like. But thanks for joining me. If you did join me, I don't know if anybody actually watched this live stream. Probably just streaming out into the ether. But yeah, it's just me out here. So Dell XPS front panel case polishing with the Kimo handheld 12-volt lithium polisher. I'm Mike. This is my channel, Solid State Alchemy. I'm in my basement in the underbelly of the YouTube algorithm. Like and subscribe if you like this content. I'm out.